On April 25, 1972, Polaroid CEO and notorious zaddy, Edwin Herbert Land, took to a stage and unveiled the Polaroid SX-70, complete with a brand new type of film, the iconic square format Polaroid that we still use today. Both objects, the film and camera, were something of a miracle to the stunned onlookers. A film that ejects an instantaneous image, perfectly dry, a darkroom contained within 17 layers of chemical and physical components. One of the most chemically complex consumer products ever released, photographically or otherwise. And the camera introduced to shoot with the film was almost just as miraculous. A single lens reflex camera with an articulating mirror and Fresnel, able to fold down to fit within a suit jacket pocket. And although introduced 54 years ago, no instant machine has yet to eclipse the wonder and fervor around the SX-70, widely believed to be one of the greatest cameras of all time. So how can something so seemingly perfect be made even better? In this episode of In an Instant, we are going to take a look at the crown jewel of crown jewels, the Rolls Royce of SX-70s, Mint's new SLR670 MAX, and what crazy lovers of the Polaroid machine are doing to usher the SX-70 into the future. Let's dive in.
The kind of photography that would become part of the human being. Press a button and have the picture.
The SX-70 came into the world looking like the snack of snacks, a product containing so many innovations packaged in such a peak form that it was almost hard to imagine how Polaroid could improve its design moving forward. And although they did update the camera over the ensuing decade, Polaroid more or less hit a wall right out of the gate, making something so good it couldn't be topped. From 1972 through 1982, they released the Model 2, with a more plastic shell, and then the Model 3, which ideally would be deleted from the universe, a camera that hollows out the SX-70 with non-SLR viewing, then the Alpha, which improved the camera's electronics and viewfinder, maintaining status today as maybe the cleanest stock SX-70 that included strap lugs and a tripod mount. And finally, they did rock a major achievement with the new sonar models that now contained an autofocus module, which brought the camera into its final, true one-step form, with ease of use maximized. On the tail end of Polaroid's dimming golden era, they released the SLR680, now compatible with 600 film, and with onboard flash, representing the true last hurrah for the American Polaroid company's attempts to produce a quintessential pro-level square shooting camera. In the 45 preceding years, Polaroid abandoned development of their Keystone camera, deferring to cheaper entry-level models as a way to sell more film to more people. But even as the company left the SX-70 behind, its fervent users didn't. As an intricate machine with numerous moving parts and an electronic circuit board, the SX-70's enduring survival required technical support from adoring mechanically gifted repair technicians all over the world. And as Polaroid rampaged back into existence with the development of the Impossible project through the 2010s, formal institutions and trained specialists formed an infrastructure for keeping this camera humming as it should, a network of shops, solo techs, and teams that could disassemble and service this unicorn of a camera. Principally though, the number one thing that could make an SX-70 better, besides a good servicing and CLA, was modifying what film it was capable of shooting. The SX-70 debuted with compatibility to shoot solely SX-70 film, a 100-speed film that Polaroid currently still supports, but was overall supplanted by the faster 640-speed 600 film in the early 80s, which with nearly 3 stops more of sensitivity, functions much better in low-light situations, enabling broader handheld use of a Polaroid camera without flash. With a maximum aperture of f8, the SX-70 becomes tough to use as the sun starts to dip, but with faster film, it gains flexibility for more varied shooting scenarios. The SLR680 could support this natively, but the far more plentiful SX-70 models require minor tweaking to calibrate the cameras for 600 film, and this has become a quintessential upgrade to this historic camera. But beyond that, an array of thinkers, tinkerers, engineers, and friendly peers have gone a step further. OpenSX-70 launched in 2017, developing brand new PCB boards, the brain of the SX-70 that sits behind its faceplate. These new boards are more than just much needed refreshed components, but also bring additional intelligence to the camera. While the SX-70 functioned fully automatically, the OpenSX-70 board could inform the conjoined shutter speed and aperture mechanism what it should do, providing a scale of manual exposure options. The later SX-70R project similarly puts a new brain and sensors inside the camera, also now including Bluetooth control via an app or dongle. I've run plenty of film through both of these mods, and the true beauty of them often lies not only in the fact that they have future-proofed the camera, but also in that you don't particularly notice the camera is modified at all. They allow the SX70 to hum as it should, producing accurate exposures in auto mode, with the manual controls as a nice to have for tricky situations, but more often maintaining the SX70's one-step shooting essence. The upgrade we're going to focus most of our attention on is the Mint SLR670, with Mint being one of the progenitors of the SX70 technical overhaul. Don't let the SLR670 name confuse you, these are SX70s at their core, with bells and whistles that would make any dog freak out. The Max edition, this new release, bears a price point similar to the SX70's original price upon its release in the 70s. That's because this iteration of the camera has a new brain, a dongle for manually controlling exposure and setting what film type is inside, contains a completely new base plate that powers the camera via USB-C charging, and as of this year, now contains what Mint calls the Sharpa lens, a brand new optic for the SX70, which maintains the same look and feel of SX70 images, but with fresh coatings.
I want to thank Dr. William Plummer. He's the original designer of the Polaroid SX-70 lens. He worked directly with Dr. Edwin Land, and we reached out to him and he gave us some advice, so he was really helpful.
This is Gary Ho, founder of Mint Camera, who I tapped to give some insights on the SLR670 MAX, which they sent me to burn film through prior to release for testing.
The tech here, for Polaroid lenses, for these vintage cameras, is not that high, but it requires a level of sophistication for manufacturing and designing these lenses, and having the past experience of making these cameras definitely did help with the SX70 Sharpa lens, we call it.
Mint Camera has long been a cornerstone of the modern instant film marketplace, originally making flash bars for the SX70 that were sold directly to the Impossible Project, along with a lens set, both of which are still distributed by Polaroid today. They then graduated to reworking the SX70 itself, before moving toward the then unthinkable task of making new high-end instant cameras from scratch. From their workhorse Instax TLR and mini and square formats to their rangefinder line for square and wide. And finally, a leap in formats with their Rolly 35. All with unique optics that laid the groundwork for their new SX70 glass. In practice, the lens is similar enough to the vintage SX70 lens in that I haven't noticed a substantial difference in the images. You might be able to argue there's a minor benefit in clarity, but overall the Sharpa lens feels like a logical replacement component for Mint, who can ensure every camera that goes out the door has a fresh optic. And although SX70 lenses are very durable and receptive to multiple cleanings, fungus and deterioration is always a potential horror show for lenses dating half a century in age. The biggest upgrade to the camera, in my opinion, is actually the elegance of its battery. 600 film requires a relatively light modification for use in the SX70, but I-type film, Polaroid's modern battery-free stock, is an entirely different story. For years, SX70 tech heads have developed numerous unique solutions for delivering power to the camera for use with I-type film. Polaroid's less expensive film stock that does not contain batteries within its cartridges. I myself have owned several of these battery mods, which mostly require a substantial alteration to the form factor of the camera. Strapped to the base or rear of the SX70, these mods deliver power through 2 pins on the undercarriage, or through wiring feeding into the camera body. In my opinion, all of these mods diminish something about the SX70's legendary design. And by design, I mean in this case how it looks, its form factor, carrying with it a sanctity fit for one of humanity's most beautiful consumer objects. The SX70 is an anti-doinker, a cure for the unaesthetic, sleek by nature. Mint's approach was to create an entirely new base plate with a baby battery bump that maintains the vibe of the SX70 incredibly well, matching its material construction and blending in perfectly with the original plating.
We wanted people to not notice it, and we gave ourselves this task to there's this ever-ready case. On day one, we set the goal to be able to fit the camera into the ever-ready case. So if you have an ever-ready case, you could just try fitting that inside. So that was one of the main requirements for the, we call it the Type I.
This is the first time I've had an I-type mod that was built into the SX70 itself, rather than an external piece of kit grafted onto the camera's exterior. And maybe it's not reinventing the wheel, but I do find this to be the most meaningful addition to the camera. I-type film is cheaper, it's available everywhere, and it's the film I want to be buying so that I'm producing less battery waste while shooting Polaroid. So the effortless function of the Type I mod, as they call it, has been a most welcome addition. While the camera functions on auto exceptionally well with its modern PCB board, it also has a component they call the time machine. This dongle has a set of shutter speeds, which allow you to manually meter for exposures. These shutter speeds are equivalent figures for metering at f8. So you'd set your light meter to f8, get your reading, and that number is what you'd set this dial to. This doesn't mean the camera is necessarily shooting at f8, as the SX70's aperture is not an independent mechanism that can be controlled like that, but rather it's a benchmark you use for metering. My great friend Zane Pollard of the Open SX70 project once said that dongles are great, but the real magic of the SX70 is how it functions without one. And truth be told, I mostly use the Mint without the dongle, fully in auto, simply because the auto works so well, and once you understand the nuances of how an SX70 exposes, the exposure compensation dial can really do most of the heavy lifting for really dialing it in. But I've also been in mixed lighting situations where manually metering was a huge benefit, and keeping the dongle on me is a true peace of mind accessory that is no heavier than a dodo bird's feather. And not for nothing, it also has a port that enables use with external flashes, if that's the kind of freaky thing you might be into. Though Gary owns Mint Camera with his wife and has led all of their amazing hardware developments, he considers the SLR670 the final boss of all their work with the SX70s. The ultimate iteration after a dozen years of development, repairs, and accessories.
The best thing, like looking back, is the team. Yeah, definitely the team, because I think all of them have been like with us from the very beginning. Like they're like family to me. Yeah. They have worked for like 10 plus years, and we've been through COVID. Developing cameras is like a really tough job. So we've been through all the ups and downs, and I'm really grateful that they stuck around for so long. And we all do believe in the vision and mission. So yeah, that's the main thing. I get kind of teary when it comes to this. Yeah.
As someone who has been using Mint's cameras and accessories for almost a decade, I definitely feel a special connection to the spirit of Gary's gang, who have been pretty intimately tied to the Polaroid form since the Impossible Project days. And Gary also recognized this channel's staying power quite early on, being one of the first guys to send cameras to me to test before releases, and giving me the chance to look under the hood, as In an Instant was really just getting off the ground. Despite that, this SLR670 is really the first of Mint's SX70s that I've used as part of my daily shooting routine. And as I tear film through it, I've really cherished having what I consider to be the crown jewel of crown jewels, a camera imbued with both Polaroid's defining legacy and Mint's upstart efforts that have proven quintessential to the modern history of this format I hold so dear. I know a lot of people might look at the price tag of this camera and think, what the hell you are? It's true that for $500 less, you could have an SX70 modified and CLA'd with fewer party tricks, but this evolution of the SX70 is for the hardest core of hardcore Pola people. And although I didn't spend my own money to try it out, I assuredly would sell 3 of my cameras to wind up with this one final ideal SX70. As we approach year 55 of the SX70's enduring presence as the preeminent Polaroid camera, there seem to be more technicians sprouting out of the ground every day. I think it says a lot about this camera and Edwin Land's gift to the universe that so many people have dedicated their lives to ensuring this thing keeps ticking into Q2 of the 21st century. Although Polaroid introduced the enviable i2 in 2023, a complete creation that can technically rival the SX70 in many aspects, it hasn't killed the SX70's momentum as a tool for the past, present, and future of Polaroid. There will never be a cooler party trick than popping an SX70 open to amazed onlookers. It's the ultimate Polaroid conversation starter. And I'm so sorry to all the people who have asked about mine and had to hear my dissertation. Getting an instant live episode directly into your ear, not everyone loves that. I'd like to honor Gary for all he has done for this camera, and also Zane and Joaquin of Open SX70, Yang Min of SX70R, and technicians like Jake, Jules, Germs, and other people whose names start with a J, that form a global network of SX70 repair and restoration services. I launched In an Instant 6 years ago, and the growth of this cottage industry in only that time has been thrilling to see unfold. Like the SX70. Thank you for watching In an Instant. Go ahead and hold the subscribe button down for 54 years. We have a new membership program on the channel with exclusive content that I'll be continuously updating for an even more inside baseball look at Polaroid and a life lived in an instant. Stay tuned for more breakdowns, reviews, adventures, and all things instant. Bye.